Start college, build skills, and complete your degree with Wilmington University. 100% online options and affordable tuition makes WilmU work for you. Learn more at wilmu.edu.
Hey, so glad you could join us on the Sixers Talk podcast brought to you by Wilmington University. WilmU Works, Danny Pommells, and Noah Levick is busy typing away, getting an article ready on NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com with this great news for the Sixers that James Harden has decided to opt out of his deal to renegotiate a new one to give the team more salary cap flexibility. Ben Berry is celebrating his birthday, so we wish a very happy birthday to Ben Berry. So we have friend of the podcast, Cliff Augustin from SiriusXM, former intern at NBC Sports Philadelphia, producer of the Danny Green podcast this season. Cliff, we appreciate you joining us.
Man, what's up, man? It's been a long time coming. I still remember the days when I interned for you back in the day, man.
Hey, we are glad you are rising to the occasion and continuing to progress in the industry. Great sign of you coming in here to bless us with some of your knowledge, because we're talking about Harden being kind of team friendly here and opting out of his deal and giving the Sixers a chance to renegotiate with him so he's not making $47.4 million next season. And it gives them a chance to have the full $10.5 million non-luxury taxpayer mid-level exception, which they can offer to players. And they don't have to, move guys currently under contract, under guaranteed contracts like Furkan Korkmaz, Shake Milton, Matisse Thybulle in order to make that full mid-level exception available. So a lot going on. I didn't know if Harden would play it this way, but I'm really happy that he did. And it seems like he's focused, and based on all reports, based on his workouts and everything, that he thinks the Sixers can win a championship. This is his best chance to do it, and he's putting all his chips in the center of the table.
Listen, I love it. Obviously, it shows that he's bought into what we're doing here in Philadelphia and what the Sixers are doing as an organization. And obviously, that relationship with Daryl Morey proves to be going a very long way for Harden and for the, because for him to take off what approximately $10 million is what it's going to look like for this season, and then to add on a couple of years, that just means he's here to stay. It means he's bought in. It means he loves Joel Embiid. He loves the team. He loves Doc. He trusts what Morey's going to do. What we do after that is very concerning, because we do have a history. Because listen, we do have a history kind of blowing things like this and signing some of the wrong guys. i.e. Al Horford, even though Al Horford did end up balling for Boston. Let's. So this is a step in the right direction, right? What we do now is super important into what pieces we add surrounding Embiid, surrounding Tyrese, surrounding Harden. And then now you got a bench player from draft night in Melton. So I'm excited to see what Morey does. I hope he doesn't just try to run it back with some old Rockets players, but hopefully there's some guys on the market. Hopefully he makes a move or two, and we can move in the right direction.
Well, the speculation, hot and heavy, has been that PJ Tucker is the guy that is in Daryl Morey's sights, and that particularly James Harden would be renegotiating his deal in order to make room for Tucker to be able to get a 3-year, mostly guaranteed contract here at age 37. So he will be 40 at the end of this deal. And then also Eric Gordon has been some speculation in the trade. The Sixers might try to acquire him. All of that being said, though, also hitting the NBA landscape today is Bradley Beal opting out of his deal in Washington. And who knows exactly what that means. But Harden opting out of his contract gives the Sixers the ultimate amount of flexibility that maybe they can sign and trade possibly some type of deal with the Wizards if Tobias Harris is included.
I was about to say.
Well, if Tobias Harris would have to be included.
Yeah, it'd be Tobias that would have to go. I mean, let me ask you this. Are you ready to do that, though? Do you think adding Brad Beal with Harden, with Embiid, that's the automatic go-to right there? Because that lineup is hella small. Because then you got PJ Tucker, you got Harden, Maxey, Embiid, and then you would have Brad Beal, who's probably about, 6'3". Defensively, that looks – offensively, that's dynamite. Like, they're probably outscoring everybody every single night, right? But defensively, I don't know. That looks kind of iffy, that lineup.
It does. I hear your point. You bringing in PJ Tucker at the 4 and losing Tobias there. Maybe they sign Eric Gordon. I mean, he's obviously not going to be a gigantic upgrade defensively. But look at what the Hawks did with bringing DeJounte Murray in a backcourt with Trae Young. Like, they're not that big at all. You know what I'm saying? They're definitely leaning on some Clint Capella, other guys to be able to step up and fill some of those voids defensively. But they definitely have more interchangeable pieces than the Sixers and they go deeper on the bench than the Sixers do. But I'm not overly concerned with the players that Morey decides to bring in. I'm more concerned with how they work with Doc Rivers. That's my biggest concern. So he's definitely a veteran-friendly guy, so I can see, why a lot of guys like to come to Philly and play with Doc. But I feel like Doc Rivers and the fit of whoever comes in is going to be of the utmost concern because where Doc plays guys, who plays with whom, how the rotations are, have been a concern, over the past couple seasons. Maybe that didn't show its head as much in the playoffs, and the Sixers were very fortunate with that, and Doc Rivers made some schematic adjustments that played in their favor. But I think it's going to be how they play together and within Doc's system. Because I'm sure Doc and Daryl are going to be, arm in arm with whoever comes into the organization and give Morey credit. You got to give him the benefit of the doubt, right? I mean, you look at how things have transpired to this point. You can't just go in with, expecting the worst because he's shown the ability to make it happen.
No, Morey has shown the ability, and like you mentioned Andre Drummond signing him for like that minimum, if I'm not mistaken, getting Seth Curry out of Dallas for the cheap for Jay Rich, who's been bouncing around about 3 different teams since he got traded from the Sixers. I do have a lot of faith in Daryl Morey because I think he has a lot of good relationships with players. Now, my biggest fear is that we need to get more athletic at the wing position. I feel like defensively, there's just so many lapses.
They did do that with Melton. So that has been addressed partially.
It has, and that's a bench player. That's a good player coming off the bench too. Who I'm assuming Maxey Harden is going to be the starting guards next year. Right, Danny? You would say so, right?
Oh yeah, gotta be. Yeah, gotta be Maxey
so
Harden. But even Melton and what he was able to do with the Grizzlies when Ja Morant was out. You know what I'm saying? Like he's shown he can be on the bench or in the starting lineup.
100%. He could be a great guy coming off the bench, but I still feel like with PJ Tucker coming in, right? It's still kind of small.
Allegedly
coming in. It's still kind of small to me, and I think we need to get more athletic either on the bench or in the starting lineup. And we got to figure out what the Matisse Thybulle thing is too, right? Like, does he develop over the summer to where the Sixers say we want to keep this guy? He's been with us since he came in the league. We drafted him at 23 or whatever the case may be. But can he hit a jumper in order to stay on the court so he's not a liability on offense? So he doesn't paving the floor for Embiid, so that it's not like they're playing 4-on-5 on offense. That's my biggest concern too. There's a lot that has to happen there. I feel like if you get a solid 2 wing players, like 3-and-D players, right? Like consistent 3-and-D players, I think you'll be set up pretty fine.
Yeah, that would definitely be a plus. We saw how that worked out with Danny Green and Georges Niang, right? Maybe not so much of the D, but a lot of that 3 and be able to kick out the shooters and find those guys. And it's every team across the NBA's hope and every fan base's hope that these players who have all these potential take these, steps in the off season to move forward. We've seen Tyrese Maxey in the shooting videos and what he's been doing. You hope Matisse Thybulle is locked in the gym somewhere, but in actuality, how much of that can you depend on? You can't depend on hoping that those guys take these big leaps forward to fill these gaps that so many teams have. So you're hoping that stuff gets addressed in free agency. I'm curious though how you feel if Harden is the one that comes back. All of a sudden, they get PJ Tucker, maybe not Eric Gordon, but they get another player who they can use some of this extra money that they have available for. Are you happy and thinking that the Sixers are going to be better than they were last season? Like, do you feel like they're taking the steps in the right direction to be better than they were?
This offseason hinges completely on James Harden, right? Like, we saw a version of James Harden when he first came in those first 5 or so games after that All-Star break when he came in versus Minnesota. He was hot. He came in versus Knicks. He was hot, and then the production just tailed off completely. It tailed off completely. We saw. Remember they said he was doing concert dates. He had 4 for 12. 3 4. I'm not even trying to make I'm not trying to disrespect the guy. I love
that, bro. That was hilarious. I think it was Jason Rose that said that.
Yeah. And I'm
hilarious.
I'm thinking to myself every single night. I'm watching this guy go 3 for 11, 4 for 15, 2 for 12.
Assist numbers were consistent.
Assist numbers were amazing.
Wasn't there after those first 5 games, but
the field goal percentage was horrific. It was around like 40%. If we get a version of Harden that can shoot around like 43, 44%, am I asking too much for about 23 to 25 a game?
25 a game. That is 20, vintage. 20, yeah, that's like vintage.
25 is James. He put up 36 one season.
Okay, all right. So maybe 30. Maybe it's not vintage, James, but you're asking a lot. I think
25.
25. Okay, maybe 23. I mean, if he's averaging 25, that means he's hitting 28 and 30 every now and again.
Yeah. I think we need
he's 33 years. He's a year older than he was last year, and you weren't getting that last season. So suddenly, off season running up, he's just running up hills all off season.
You weren't getting that last season because he might have been hurt. So he might have had to hand. He looked out of shape when he was in Philly. Hell, he looked out of shape in Brooklyn.
I don't know if he looked out of shape. He just looked a little less explosive.
Yeah,
a little less explosive. So I think this is the spot. I felt like that was Father Time as opposed to him being in shape or not.
That's even more concerning than if you think that's Father Time, because then that's like, this is the version of Harden that we're going to get, and we're never going to.
Well, I don't think it was so bad as you're making it seem. Like he was a point guard essentially. So
he was a point guard.
Assist numbers are fantastic.
He was a point guard. Assist numbers were great, and he definitely did his thing as far as passing the ball.
And obviously, Maxey is better playing off the ball.
100%. And we all knew that Maxey was a 2 guard going into the season. Him being forced because of Ben's situation playing point guard just made him, a better, gave him better court vision essentially. It made him more of a leader. It made him more of a vocal leader. But my thing is with Harden is you need to add a little bit more scoring to what he does, or more efficient scoring. The 40% to me is just way too low, or whatever he hovered underneath that in the playoffs.
Yeah, I feel you. On the concert date thing, the 3-12s, the 4 for 11s.
Again, we're not making fun of Harden. We like Harden.
But the 5 for 13s, we're not making fun of him. But it just needed to be more consistent, more efficient, and the fourth quarter scoring obviously wasn't there down the stretch like they needed.
Remember in the Miami game, he only shot 2 shots in that fourth quarter.
The fourth quarter scoring. But for me, if he's going to give me almost 10 assists a game, I can deal with 20 points. 20, I mean, he's going to give me 20 points and 10 assists almost a game. I can deal with that and get more scoring from Maxey.
If it's 20 points, I need an efficient 20, though. We can't have the concept of 20 because that's bad for the team, I think.
Well, I feel you on that. So, but don't forget the charity stripe.
Yep.
You're getting the charity stripe, too.
100%. Which he didn't get a lot of calls last season either. I felt like there were so many times where he would go up for a layup, and they would just – I feel like those rules were just implemented for him, right? Like he would go – seriously, he would go up for a layup. How many –
Him and Trae Young, right?
Yeah, him and Trae Young, right? He would go up for a layup. How many times would you see him completely either get hit, elbowed, nicked, whatever the case may be, and not get a call and then complain about it and not get back on defense? Like, I felt like that happened so many times once he came over to the Sixers, and I just think – He wasn't refereed correctly or fairly in my eyes either. So maybe the charity stripe will pick up. I mean, hell, he did. I mean, he did get a ton of his points from free throws anyway when he was during the end of the regular season. But when the playoffs came around, I mean, how many times did he get whacked versus the Raptors and they wasn't calling nothing? Or how many times did he go up for layups against Miami? They didn't call anything either. So I'm hoping that the rest kind of look into that a little bit more and kind of recognize, like, oh, this guy's actually getting fouled a lot more than we called it. So then, the scoring punch does come from there as well.
I'm good with the Sixers nucleus. Okay, Harden is not the Harden that the team saw in, years past. But I'm good with their nucleus because I know what Maxey's going to give me. I know what Embiid is going to give me. And Harden still commands a double team, gets to the free throw line, and is setting guys up. So he's above average. You know what I'm saying? He's above average.
He's a very great distributor for sure.
Maybe he's not great, but he's good. And what they're doing, trying to support that nucleus with the best possible role players, this is a good day for Sixers fans. Don't you agree? Like 100%, this is a great day for Sixers fans. The optionality is there, to use a Sam Hinkie term, and Harden opting out, other guys around the league kind of repositioning themselves. Maybe there's, once again, for a savvy, front office, maybe there's a player or two who falls through the cracks and is able, the Sixers are able to snatch them up before some other team hops on them. But how should the Sixers fans feel at this point? How high should the optimism be? Are they, obviously, for me particularly, I am very much in the championship or bust mode. Okay, I'll be satisfied if they got to the Eastern Conference Finals, but they've only gotten past the second round once in 37 years. How do you think fans should feel at this point?
I think fans should feel high about especially what Harden just did by opting out, and then we're going to probably add another good veteran player. I'd be elated if I was a Sixers fan, and not for nothing. I think the Sixers have a roster that can compete with anybody in the East again, just like last year. If Embiid doesn't break his face or injure his thumb, the Sixers probably could have beat Miami and then went on to the Eastern Conference Finals last season. We're not going to do the whole woulda, coulda, shoulda thing, but the Sixers are a very formidable roster when healthy. Another year of experience for Tyrese Maxey. Harden come back in better shape. I thought Tobias played actually really solid in the playoffs. Did you?
I did too. I thought he stepped up a lot, and particularly with the need being there. But he's never going to be like a 30-point scorer. He's not going to be that. What James, like you said, like James will still give you 30. He can still give you 30, but I don't see Tobias as that guy.
Yeah,
there was no Tobias was super hot game. You know what I'm saying? Tobias had 7 threes. There was no game like that.
Yeah, but he's just a solid, good role player and a good forward. And I thought he played great defense in the Toronto series as well. So you got that.
I have no problem leveraging his money and I would want him to marry my daughter, but I have no problem leveraging his money for the team to upgrade.
And bring it on Brad Bill and bring it on another All-Star possibly. But I think the Sixers fans should be elated right now. I think just the moves. I think what Daryl's doing is great. I think Melton is a great player off the bench, man. I really do. I really love his game. I think he's finally going to have a great role off the bench. You know how Memphis did a lot of different sub packages coming off the bench. Like they would have my man Brandon Clark come off the bench a lot. They would have what's my man Kyle Slow-Mo? They call him Slow-Mo. Yeah, Kyle Anderson. Kyle Anderson come off the bench a lot, and you would never know who or when they would come off the bench. Like they didn't really have like a true like 6-man kind of. It was just more a bench rotation thing. So now he has a role. He's probably going to be 6th, 7th man come off the bench behind Niang. The Shake
he leapfrog Shake
and Furkan.
He leapfrog Furkan.
Yep. Yeah. And maybe, I don't know what Thibel's deal is. It sounds like the Sixers are trying to ship him off. But let's say they can't ship him off. If he comes back and gives you some semblance of a jumper, I mean, like, you can have some hope in that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I like the way you paint. Let's throw the numbers up. We're going to get our producer, Steve Graham, to throw the numbers up on where things stand with the Sixers and the salary cap and the whole 9 yards. So if you're not in the know, here are the numbers. All this according to, as you can see, Sports Track's Keith Smith. We talked about that non-taxpayer mid-level exception, almost $10.5 million the Sixers now have available to them without having to move players with guaranteed contracts because James Harden opted out of that $47.4 million. And the salary cap this season also went up a little over $1 million, which also plays in the Sixers' favor in order to try to stay below that luxury tax threshold. So the numbers look good, Cliff. I mean, say what you want about the amount of spending and who's getting what money and what moves they could make. The front office has done a good job of moving things around, and the culture also speaks to the culture being what it is that James wants to forego this almost $50 million and to give the team some flexibility.
He's bought in here. He's not going to run away if there's some adversity here. He's saying, okay, I'm probably going to get a nice 3-4 year contract extension here. I want to be here. I want to be with these guys. I think I can contribute. And I want to get this ring here. Daryl, again, I'm sure Daryl talked to him on the phone personally would say, "Hey, James, look, man, let's come back to, let's opt out, take a little bit of money, take a little bit less money this year. I got you on the back end. I got you a couple, close to 100 million on the back end of this deal. Don't worry about it. Yeah, that's so much money, right? That's so much money. I got you close to 100 million on the back end of this deal, if not more than that. So just hang tight with us. I'm gonna make this right. You don't have to go nowhere. You don't got to complain about nothing. We got it. The two-time MVP runner-up Joel Embiid over here. You know what he brings to the table. You got some good young players over here, and I'm always working the phones. So it's a trust thing at the end of the day, and they trust Doc too to bring this all together. And I think this is right. I think the formula is right, man. I think everything is going to go finally in a direction that we wanted to in the playoffs, barring injury. And I think injuries have just killed us, and also depth too. Depth has also killed us as well.
Yeah, particularly when you see what other teams have, and is worth mentioning once again, other teams in the Eastern Conference. You see Washington also working a trade. Will Barton is coming to the Eastern Conference.
I believe it was Will Barton for KCP.
And there was a second player included in that.
Yes. It was Will Barton and Monte Morris.
Okay, there you go.
KCP, which, by the way, I love both players. I was hoping the Sixers were actually going to go after Will Barton because he'll be a free agent.
Yeah, I like Will a lot. He can fill it up.
For KCP and former Sixer Ish Smith, by the way, who will be making a league record 13th team if he suits up for the Denver Nuggets.
He will play for his 13th team at NBA record. If he plays one game, right?
Yes.
Unbelievable.
What a career, man.
Ish Smith, though. Hey, man, I try to tell my son, man, it's more to basketball than being good, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Perseverance, relationships, all that stuff is important. But Cliff, dynamite job on the podcast. My first time working with you. I know you've been on the podcast previously, but excellent work. You can check out Cliff. Throw your social media out there, Cliff, where people can find you.
Hey, man, the Bull Cliff. It's a Philly thing. You understand what that is, right? You see
what's your social media handle? Where can people find you on social media?
I'll spell it out for everybody. DABOULCLIFF. The Bull Cliff.
All right.
I haven't, so I can't change it, right? Because Danny, a few years ago, Temple sent me a jersey with my handle on the back of it. So now I can't change it. I can't ever change it.
Right. Once you change it, then the jersey is null and void.
Exactly.
Right.
It's no good, man. I wish I had a picture. I wish I could show you the jersey and hang it up right here. That's why I can just never change it. I can't be.
Well, you got the TU on your chest.
Yeah.
You got the Bull Cliff on your back. You're doing well out here, bro. Congratulations on your success. You can check Cliff out on SiriusXM, the producer of Danny Green's podcast this past season, and working in the industry and continuing to make waves. Cliff, we appreciate you joining us on the Sixers Talk podcast. I'm Danny Pommells. We appreciate everyone out there for listening and watching on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We will see you next time. We're brought to you by Wilmington University. WilMU Works.